Diets and workouts, you've done the work, so why can't you get to your goal weight? That's because up to 70% of your weight is predetermined by your genetics. So while you've been told that it's all about your willpower, you're actually fighting your biology. Don't do it alone. Found's Doctor Design program uses medication as part of a treatment plan that targets your body's unique biological needs, so that your body works with you and not against you. Take the quiz at joinfound.com to see if Found's weight loss program is right for you.
The following is a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowercat.com's Powercat Insiders podcast, presented by Commerce Bank, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowercat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
It's another edition of the Powercat Insiders podcast brought to you by Commerce Bank. We got the A team. Not that the other guys aren't good. They're very good. We have good subs. Tim Fitzgerald, that's me. Matt Walters of the Kansas State Learfield IMG Nike /
Golly,
Apple
someday, please.
/
K-State Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
That guy.
Here we go.
Kellis Robinette of the Wichita Eagle, Kansas City Star, and our boy Catfish, Ryan Black of the Manhattan Mercury, who I just fed 5-hour energy. He's never had one before. It's going to be a bomb that goes off sometime during this podcast. It's going to be great stuff.
But we haven't podcasted in a decade.
I know. The four of us have not convened since the bowl game.
That's not true. Well, the four of us,
yeah. The four of us together.
Yeah, we have had, but we've been missing parts, and we've had very, very good substitutes, but there's no substitute for Commerce Bank.
Life is full of moments, big and small. Commerce Bank has the technology and the people to help with whatever financial challenges come your way. Commerce Bank, challenge accepted.
Gentlemen, if I was a gambling man, I would be a broke man today.
Yeah.
I would have bet my house, my dogs, my cars, my wife, and that's of great value because she listens to this, that West Virginia would have beaten K-State by more than, 5.5 was the spread by into the start of the game, I guess. Kansas State 84-68. I'm not sure if I'm shocked that they won or that they kicked their butts. With the exception of a stretch in the second half and maybe the very start of the game, this game was about Kansas State. Matt, your thoughts on what took place at Bramlage Coliseum on Saturday?
Well, I thought Bob Huggins' comment after the game was somewhat telling because virtually everybody, be it fans or those that cover K-State or those who were watching around Mid-America, all thought Kansas State was probably going to get hammered. And as Bob Huggins said after the ball game, he said, Bruce is a really good coach. He said, did you really think they were going to just come out and lay down?
Yeah.
Did you think that they were not going to fight and be amped up after what happened earlier in the week with their loss? And I mean, if you take a step back and you think about that, credit K-State, they showed fight. They didn't do as many dingbat things. They only turned it over.
Well put.
Dingbat.
For lack of a better word. I thought that was probably the better adjective to use. They only turned it over 16 times, and it just. We have talked about so many aspects of this team, losing close games. And it just goes to show you when you do things right and the ball goes in the basket, you can win games.
And really, Kellis, shooting the ball was, they shot it so well it was alarming, but they also seemed to take better shots in rhythm. They got in the open floor and ran and got shots at the rim and dunks. It's easy to shoot the ball when you're dunking.
Well, yeah, that's what I told some people after the game. They probably had more dunks against West Virginia than they had in every other game combined. It was just amazing.
It was all over the place.
And you look, what did they end up with? Was it 59% shooting for the game? Is that what it was? Yeah. So it's incredible. It's pretty easy when you get 10 automatic makes right there. And when they shot threes, they did it with confidence. They were stepping into them. Cardi and other guys were calling for the ball, getting them wide open. And it hasn't happened in other games. I think West Virginia was on paper, I was like you. I thought West Virginia would win pretty easily. It was kind of like the Oklahoma football game. I didn't really see many paths K-State could take to a win here, but they did it. West Virginia was not on their A game. K-State was on theirs, and, they out-toughed them. They outshot them. They outplayed them in really just about every way other than the second half where they let a 24-point lead get down to 6. But, hey, they won. So
yeah, that got a little scary. That looked like reverse of last year when West Virginia blew the lead in the second half. But K-State hung on. Ryan Black, how shocked were you by that performance?
Well, I was talking with Greg Woods, who'll be graduating here soon, has done a lot of work for the Mercury after the game. And I said, I don't think off the top of my head in the 2.5 years I've covered the K-State men's basketball team that I've seen a win that I expected less. And I couldn't – I mean, again, I know they beat a top 5 Oklahoma team when Oklahoma came here with Trae Young 2 years ago. But, again, even then they had been playing so much better at that point. It was the fact that, like you said, it's not just that they won. It's that outside of letting West Virginia get back into the game and then stretching it back, it was the fact they won pretty easily, really. That they really did dominate the whole game outside of that stretch where West Virginia went on that run to cut it close. And Kellis, to your point, not that this is like the most meaningful stat ever, but of the 5 second-half dunks in the game, all 5 were K-State.
There you go.
I had to look up something about dunks for my story, and I noticed, oh, man, look at that. K-State had all 5 of them in the second half. I didn't go back and look in the first half. But I think one other thing, and guys, I know this is where the stats, sometimes they get misleading. West Virginia came into the game Saturday as the number 1 rebounding team in the Big 12, and they were 6th nationally. K-State was last in the Big 12 in rebounds per game. And you look, and K-State only lost it by 1. West Virginia had 29-28. But again, I know, as we're kind of talking about, there's not going to be as many rebounds when you hit almost 60% of your shots. But I still think the fact they almost fought them to a draw on the boards is pretty impressive because I would have never seen that coming.
Derek Culver, the man among men, 3 rebounds.
Yeah, him and Sheboy were 1-2 in the Big 12.
Is there a reason he only played 22 minutes? That was one thing that puzzled me, that Bob Huggins hardly played his best 2 bigs.
I think he was just mad at him.
It seemed like he was very mad.
I was disappointed with Sheboy.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like the greatest strategy. I'm mad at you, too. Let's get our best players out of the game.
Yeah, that's Bob, though, And he probably went over there and yelled at him, "Oh, you're not playing well. You got to get out of the game."
That's a good impression.
It was.
I love Hugs. One of the interns was in the back of the room before the interview started, and I said, "You ever heard Bob Huggins in the press conference?" "No." "Well, you're not going to hear him today." So I moved up front, and I could still barely hear him.
That was the most shocking thing. I've told some of you that was the most shocking thing to me the first time I ever covered a game involving him, and then after the game, just knowing how animated he can be on the court at times and how loud he can get. I was shocked at how just soft-spoken he is in press conferences.
He didn't have much to say. He knew exactly what happened to his team. They overlooked Kansas State. And it was on most days, let's be blunt here, if you overlook Kansas State, you can get off the hook. But not this one. K-State really did pull it all together. And let's be honest, let's go back at another game, and when they lost to Texas Tech, we saw signs of this. They seemed to kind of play better and have a better identity and maybe a better glue to this team. They looked more uniformed as a group out there, and they certainly came together on Saturday.
Now the question is, do you do it for an extended period of time?
Well, you really wish now you had Oklahoma State, Iowa State, one of those teams up so you could, get another taste of winning. Not to say they won't win Tuesday night in Lawrence, but the last time that happened, Jim Wooldridge was head coach, I believe, right?
2006, yep.
Is that all it was? It feels like it was 1893.
1893.
2006. So, I mean, that is a good point, though. When it last happened, it was an unlikely situation. And KU has had its own issues, although they went out and got a couple wins. I don't see them winning in Allen Fieldhouse, but maybe they can go in there and at least leave there feeling pretty good about themselves, because I think in a strange way, I'm not going to call it a moral victory. They took away something from that Texas Tech defeat upon which they could build. And they did build on that Saturday. But I was really impressed to see that Bruce Weber shuffled the lineup. Now, I think it was a response to what West Virginia does, what they put on the floor with the 2 bigs by starting both Stockard and Malween. But he did put David Sloan into the lineup. And, guys, I think it had a a big effect on this team. And the biggest effect was on Cartier-Jada, who moved off the ball. I've been saying it. It's not that he is the point guard. I think it's that he's been called the point guard, and that feels like a lot of weight for him because he still did a lot of point guard things, but Sloan played 35 minutes, 9 points, 5 assists, 4 steals, which is probably the biggest number out of that because, Matt, the problem with David Sloan and Bruce Weber's eyes has been?
Defense. And we've been talking about Sloan at the point for, 6 weeks now?
And I think after the first week of the season, maybe.
Yeah. And you know what? I've been critical like others. I don't know critical, but I've been pushing for Sloan. And then I watch a game and I go, well, I see exactly what Bruce Weber sees. He didn't rotate on this play. He didn't go challenge a shooter when they were in the zone this time. He just kind of was playing JUCO defense.
Mm-hmm. And I think Bruce has brought it up a couple of times. I'll give him credit because I know in the past people have been maybe critical that he kind of brings up the same things over and over and uses them as excuses. But I really do think that after Sloan suffered that hand injury that put him out the whole summer, I think he just missed so much time, and he just was literally working his way into form as the season started.
You don't need a healthy hand to play defense, though.
Oh well,
no.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and
I think they'll coach him out of it.
Yeah.
It's just going to take a little time.
Even more than that, I think the thing they stumbled upon these last couple of games is I think Mike McGurl getting hurt was a good thing for this team because it's forced him to go young. And you've seen when you play DeJuan Gordon more minutes and you play Antonio Gordon more minutes and you let Montavious Murphy stay on the floor. Good things happen. They just play with so much more energy when those guys and David are on the floor than what they were earlier. And, I like Mike and Mac as much as anybody, but unless they're going to come in there and start knocking down shots, I think they've found something here and they need to go young.
I agree. And if you look at the minutes, and granted it was just by 1 minute or so, the top 6 minutes people in this game for K-State were Snead and Jada, the 3 freshmen, and Sloan. And I think that says a lot about maybe where Bruce is moving with this. Although it'll be interesting when McGurl comes back, whether that's Tuesday night or not, where he goes with his minutes.
I think McGurl coming back Tuesday is very important, and not from the sense that, okay, he's going to be the make or break difference maker. I just think it's the fact that what you guys were talking about. I mean, we remember that Barry Brown basically never would come off the floor, so he was used to playing major minutes. I just get a sense that if McGurl's out again Tuesday and you've got to ask Cardi and these guys to play high 30 minutes again, I think you're going to see really tired legs and you're going to see KU use that to their advantage. So that's where I think McGurl, if nothing else, just to give them minutes, is going to be super important if he can come back Tuesday.
Does McGurl go right back into the starting lineup?
No.
He shouldn't. I
bet he does.
He might.
I would argue that he should not.
Yeah, I would think after the success you just had, you might want to stick with those 2 guys in the back.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of validity to the answer being yes. If McGurl's back and he's actually healthy, because say what you will about K-State in Allen Fieldhouse, you've got Antonio, you've got DeJuan, you've got Sloan, and you've got Montavious playing in that building for the first time. And that building has a tendency to intimidate people.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring up that.
So McGurl potentially could. I don't think he will, but
it intimidates grown men in striped shirts.
It does. Correct.
I didn't know if you were going to bring up the point that he has been their most consistent 3-point shooter in terms of percentage. I didn't know if that's where you were going with that.
Who, Sloan?
No, McGurl. McGurl's their best 3-point shooter if you look by percentage. 45.
He's been their number 2 defender, too.
Yep. No, I'm not arguing you'd never play him. I think he is best suited to be the relief pitcher that comes in when one of those guys in the backcourt needs to blow. Because he can go both ways. He can play, he can slide McGurl over or he can play the point. Whatever you need from him, he can try to do it. And that's what he is. He's a glue guy. He's a guy that brings energy, and I'd like to see that energy off the bench. And I'd also like to see DeJuan Gordon go back into the starting lineup. It'll be intriguing to me with KU if they go big, how Bruce responds to that with his own starting lineup, because they can go big too.
One of the things I'm most interested to see if it carries forward is, and it was something that was brought up in the post-game press conference, is, you look at, they finished 17 to 25 from the line, and a lot of those free throws were big time, because it was in the middle of West Virginia trying to stave off that run. And that's what really hurt them in a lot of those close games that they lost earlier this year, was they get to the free throw line and they couldn't convert 1-and-1s, or they'd go 1 for 2 from the line. So I'm interested to see if that free throw shooting is going to continue like that. Because remember, even in the loss Tuesday, Montavious Murphy goes 9 for 9 from the line. That's extremely impressive, especially for a freshman forward.
they're getting a lot from the freshmen. Mm-hmm. You can see them growing up. I mean, even Antonio Gordon, who one of my writers called Tony this week.
Tony Gordon.
Tony.
But even Tony, he is beginning to show signs that he's learned from his mistakes. You saw him dribble the ball against the press against West Virginia, and the whole time he was like, I got to get rid of this. I remember what happened when I tried to dribble. What was that, Texas?
No, it was Mississippi State.
State?
Yeah, they got the – yep.
And so you can see them learning from their mistakes, but boy, they played together so well. I mean, they got dunks because they passed the ball extremely well.
They were unselfish.
They hit threes because they passed the ball well. They weren't shooting threes because they had no other option. They were shooting threes because it was a good option in the flow of the offense. I don't know what it is. Bruce Weber always says he wants a run and then reins his team in and doesn't let them run. He let them run, and I think this is what can happen. You get easy scores, you get easy buckets, and they relax.
And we've talked about that very aspect for a while. My concern Tuesday night in Lawrence is that KU whacks them with an 18-3 run or something right out of the chute because that's what KU does.
Yep.
And at times in the past, K-State has been able to, bounce back and come back from those. And that's where it fits. If you're talking about seeing this team grow up, granted, again, a lot of them are freshmen. Again, you put in Sloan. How do they respond tomorrow night? Because they're going to get runs. They're going to have 16-5, whatever it is over there, in each ear hole and nose hole and you name it. And there is no tougher place in college basketball to play. And we're going to see what K-State is about, without a doubt, tomorrow night.
I know. We really will. I mean, and you can't – we've seen really good K-State teams go in there and just get run over. They get a few calls against them, and they just kind of collapse, and that happens to a lot of teams. In a weird way, I think it's good that the freshmen and David Sloan haven't experienced it. They have no preconceived notions. They're going to be told how loud it is, so they'll expect that, and we'll see how they respond. What the hell? Just go play.
Just don't lose your mind.
Right.
Just don't lose you can't come out of that game tomorrow night losing by 25 or 30.
No.
That, I think, is going to be really damaging if it happens. I may be wrong, but yeah, for K-State,
damaging in what way? To just completely shooting their confidence? What do you mean?
From what they maybe built in the last week just blows that right out of the water.
I don't really see that happening. I don't see a win, but a 30-point loss I think would be pretty far-fetched too, just because KU's not scoring like they have in the past. They don't really have the best shooters.
No.
I mean, they are very, very skilled down low, and that's certainly an area they could take advantage of in this game. And they could just murder K-State in the paint and probably win by double digits, 15 or so. But
that's exactly the way I feel. That's the way I felt about the West Virginia game. Maybe what happened with the Mountaineers will get KU's attention. Azubuike's just an impossible matchup for almost anyone outside of West Virginia in this conference. But this is a game that Mikal Mawien has to show up and not get 5 fouls in 10 minutes of action. If he played harder in the game, as his 6 rebounds show, and Bruce Weber pointed to, the fouls continue to be baffling. He misses a little shot, and he almost immediately, as a reflex, fouls the guy that rebounds that miss. It's like, I missed. I'm going to foul you, punish you for rebounding the ball.
He also gets a lot of over-the-back calls where you would just think that by now he should know they're going to call that every single time.
And he gets cheap fouls 50 feet from the basket.
Yeah.
He's got to stay on the floor, if anything, for his defense. Although I was actually really impressed with how hard those young guys in the post defended against those big guys from West Virginia. They worked extremely hard.
So which is more likely? Going back to what you said, Kellis. Okay. Which is more likely? K-State loses by 6 or K-State loses by 23?
23. It's more likely in my book.
I think 6.
What's more likely?
Yeah, what's more likely?
Now, okay, I'm interested, Kels. Why do you say 6?
Well, because, like what I was saying earlier, I don't trust KU to come out and score 90 points in this game. I think even if they play their best, it'll be I mean, I would honestly, if I was going to target something, I'd say in the middle and say KU by 12.
See, I'm thinking
if I had to choose, if I had to go one way or the other,
that's why
I would say.
I'm just curious of those two options, what you think is more likely.
You know what? I'm going to say 6, and this is the only reason why. Because of just how this college basketball season has been, I mean, it's been crazy. It's been crazy how ranked teams continually struggle, because I just don't think there's really, I mean, obviously I just think it shows there's no dominant team or even teams in college basketball this year. So I'm not saying that part of how maybe they'll come back is that maybe KU's winning by 12 or 13 in the final minute or two, and then K-State hits a couple of threes to make it 6. But I between the two, I feel like that's more likely than them getting beat by 23. But if Mike McGurl doesn't play and Cardi and them have to play 35, 36, 37 minutes, then I think the 23.
Well, the key to not being blown out will be, like, can they keep track of guys like Moss and Dotson, their other shooters who, when they do have their good shooting games, they can make them in spurts. When they played Texas this last game, they only made 2 3-pointers, KU did, and that's why they didn't win by a whole lot. So as long as Kansas State plays good defense everywhere else, I think they can keep it somewhat close. But if for whatever reason they can't close out, they let KU make threes, then that's where it can become a really ugly score.
But I'm thinking like Kellis, 13 is kind of the margin of victory I'm kind of thinking here. Thinking something like 67-54.
Though Ken Palm has them winning by almost 20. So
as a bookie inside, KU, do they hit threes? And for me, transition baskets.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does KU get out and run, and do they have a lot of success in the fast break tomorrow night?
Do you think K-State will try pressing again? I was a little surprised they brought that out of West Virginia. But it worked.
Press the team that presses.
Yeah,
that's right.
They beat them at their own game.
They could.
I like Bruce is really digging into the coaching book this year. He's playing a little zone. He's switching defenses. He's giving teams other looks. And I think he's got to continue that. He's got to continue that, and I think this team responds to it. There's a bunch of young guys that you give them something new, and they go out and attack it.
He even played a guy with 2 fouls against West Virginia.
He did? Yeah, brought Snead back in.
I was ready for an asteroid to hit Bramlage Coliseum, but it didn't do it. Yeah, it was amazing.
And they won the game. Can you believe it?
I know.
It turned out good.
I would put Dejuan Gordon on Dotson. Just give him that length and give him some things to worry about, and try to get a hand up when he shoots and disrupt him. Because when he's off, it does change KU quite a bit. Now,
I love this kid. I love him.
Yeah.
I like Dejuan a lot, man. I mean, I think they should put him in the lineup permanently. Like I said, but I do think it wouldn't surprise me if McGurl comes back, they're going to put him in the lineup. Because I don't know, you guys have obviously covered Bruce a lot longer than I have, but he seems to be a guy who says, not actually publicly, but like, you don't lose your starting lineup spot just because you got injured. Because that's what happened. He didn't lose it because he was playing badly, because he had this concussion. And he had started every single game to that point before Texas Tech.
I think that's typically correct, and it happened when Stokes came back and Jada had been starting.
That's a good point.
There's a difference. But
there was something not working before, and now it seems to be working. I think you probably keep him in there, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, hell, what do you got to lose here? You're 1-4 in the conference. You're not going to go winless, as many of us feared, including me.
You really thought they'd go winless?
No, he didn't.
I was beginning to make plans.
Do you remember that season where they started 0-9, that first Big 12 season? Because that would have been the first time they lost Saturday. They started 0-5 since the first year of the Big 12.
Yeah, I do. It was pretty miserable.
Beyond pretty miserable.
Oh.
But
there's only one team ever that's done it, right? And that was
TCU, wasn't it?
TCU.
Yeah. A&M went 0-16 once as well in the old Big 12.
That's inexcusable for A&M. That's just...
They even had AC Law when they did it, which is the funny
Man, that's crazy.
Is that cat still in the NBA?
I don't know, man.
AC Law?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
The fourth. Maybe the fifth is playing somewhere.
By the way, I wanted to bring up something, Matt, because you guys know I always do these callbacks earlier. When you said dingbat, like the thing that makes me think of is like from the 1960s era Batman. So if we did like a collage of those plays, you'd get the
I like it.
dingbat. Thank you, Kevin.
Bam.
I'm glad you appreciate that.
Whammo.
Yeah, say dingbat. That's what it would come up with the cat signal or something.
The cat signal.
The cat
the Batman, but instead of the Powercat.
Oh. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh boy.
No, I would think the old Willie. One of the earlier Willies. That would be the cat signal that would come up.
Talk about old Willie.
Okay, let's break.
Okay.
AC Law the fourth has not played in the NBA since 2011.
Yeah, I thought he'd been out for a while.
Does the Wikipedia machine say what he's doing nowadays?
He played a little bit overseas. Mm-hmm. He tried to be a coach for some place called Ranger College.
Yep, that's in Texas.
Yep.
Right now, it appears he's not doing anything basketball-wise.
Very good. Well, we're not doing anything
breaking news
insiders-wise, so we will take a break right here, gather ourselves, and come back on the Powercat Insiders Podcast, sponsored by Commerce Bank.
Stay locked in. The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
Picture this nightmare scenario. You're hosting friends for the big game. It's neck and neck in the fourth quarter, and suddenly you realize you're out of drinks. You start to sweat. Your friends start to turn on you. You're forced to go on a last-second drink run and end up missing the game-winning touchdown while in line. Terrifying, isn't it? Luckily, you can avoid the drama with Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits, then get them delivered right to your watch party. Compare prices across multiple stores in your area, find the best deals on game day drinks, and get back to armchair quarterbacking from, you guessed it, your armchair. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC Gig-Powered Studios.
Welcome back to the Powercat Insiders Podcast. Got a lot done in the first half. Maybe we should
keep it up.
Break out some cigarettes.
Nope.
And some whiskey.
Nope.
It's okay.
Let's start this segment with the rant.
Oh, we're going to just dive right into the catfish rant? He said he has something good. I fed him 5-hour energy. By God, it better be great.
Okay, so guys, here's, so we have an opening at the Mercury right now, for high school sports writer, someone who also does K-State stuff. That job was posted on December 29th on Journalism Jobs and other places where journalism jobs are posted.
Did you do Eric's Jobs?
What jobs?
Eric's Jobs, the world's worst commercials. It's like they just shot it with an iPhone or something with no mic on her. Go to Eric's Jobs, and it's go ahead.
I guess I'm going to have to look this up later. But no, so here's what just really gets me, guys. And I just want to hear from you guys, because maybe you have experience. Okay, the job post, December 29th. We're getting people who are in school right now who don't graduate till May applying for the job. So what I'm going to sit here and wait 6 months for you to graduate, and then you can move from Texas or Arizona or Maryland? I'm going to wait 6 months for you to graduate?
Are they at K-State?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's strange.
So why would you send me an application for a job? You just think I'm going to wait that long for you? Are you like the second coming of Wright Thompson and Grantland Rice? Are you that good?
Or Riley Gates, who I hired while he was in college.
I just don't. I mean, I'm saying, have you guys ever had that happen where it's like in the middle of a year and you're saying, I don't graduate till 5 months from now, I'm going to apply for it anyway? Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Is it possible that they have like 3 hours left they can take remotely?
I'm just saying that if you're listening to this podcast, future people, don't even bother sending me your resume.
Future people.
Just don't send it to me. Don't waste my time.
The podcast for the unborn.
It's a waste of my time.
Did they designate, like in their cover letter, I can't start until blankety blank blank blank?
Well, I mean, you kind of have to do the research. Like, you look at the resume and it says projected to graduate in May 2020.
Oh, I like projected. That's promising.
Or expected to, you know.
Maybe
projected, I would be really concerned. Expected, I would be much better.
Maybe they're willing to turn pro early.
Well, but no, guys, with the way this job is at the paper, I would not feel comfortable with anybody continuing to be in school and taking online classes. Because so it's like, I need you to cover a game. Oh, I'm sorry, I got a test I got to take online.
I agree with you.
Give me a break.
Yeah, I agree.
It's ridiculous.
Those kids these days, they don't know what goes into it.
Like, you know what I did, guys?
The passion.
You know what I get? You know what I did when I applied for jobs, guys? I waited till I graduated college before I applied for jobs.
Hey, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Well,
right?
I mean, I guess all I'm saying is if you'd at least put somewhere in a cover letter or in the email, like, Mr. Black, because I hope they call me Mr. Or they can call me Ryan, but I'd prefer Mr.
How
something.
about Catfish?
I would appreciate that if only because that means they actually listen to this podcast, and that's really doing a deep dive. But is it just say, you know, I'm not going to graduate. I know you're probably not going to wait this on to fill the job, but I just want to give this to you for the future.
Right.
But like I did have someone last time this job came open last year that he said, well, yeah, I would just take my classes online and do that, even though he had a whole year left.
Ooh.
A whole year. Not that, like, at least these other people were like a semester. But I just didn't know if you guys have ever heard of this or experienced that. Where someone.
Are you asking them, any of them, if they're interested in like esports? So that you don't lose another one to esports?
Oh, man. Guys,
No, he's
you're
not.
Obviously referring to Sean Collins, who departed my department to go to the Dallas Morning News. To be the first esports writer for the Dallas Morning News. And I'm fascinated to see how it works. You know, guys, I mean, I know nothing about video games. Kellis, maybe you do. Maybe your kids are very into it. But I'm interested to see how it works.
Well, they got a big-ass video game stadium right there in Arlington, next to the football and baseball stadiums.
A video game stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't know
the
such
national video game arena. That's
I guess that's
the
where
Morning News is doing it.
Yeah.
And now the old
gets
Ranger
huge
stadiums
crowd.
become.
I think tomorrow is
next XFL stadium.
I think tomorrow is when it's supposed to officially launch for them, their esports vertical.
I'm intrigued by it. I don't want to cover it, but I just want to see if this is where we're going in this industry. I know this: if you play an esports version of Kansas versus Kansas State, Kansas probably wins that game. And Azubuike dunks a lot in the esports version of this game. This is the Powercat Insiders Podcast, brought to you by Commerce Bank.
Whatever financial challenges come your way, Commerce Bank can help. Commerce Bank challenge accepted.
I'm intrigued. I really want to see what happens.
And go to the game? You going?
No, I'm not. You know, here's why.
I bet I know why. It's because you've talked about how much of a mess it's getting.
Yeah. I'm a big guy. I don't know if you know. I'm sucking in right now, so I may not be able to see. Yeah, I know.
Well, people who are listening to it can't see it, so they don't know.
They know. They've checked out my online news.
What he's going to say is cramped quarters.
Yeah.
Did you just say online news?
Yeah. Slipped it right by Matt.
Yeah.
No. I just kept going.
It's good. We worked together a long time. Just ignore it and move on. And since they put more donors on the baseline or on the sideline, there's not many seats down there. Kellis, you'll be down there. Ryan, you'll be down there.
Maybe. We'll see. First time I was last year, I wasn't, so we'll see.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, usually the two, the Star and the hometown paper would be down there. I'm now put up in the corner where you really can't see very well, but you are in incredibly cramped quarters. I mean, normal-sized people have problems operating. You can't really type because your elbows can't. So I've been watching the game from inside the media room for the last a couple times over, which is a weird experience because you hear the roar and then 7 seconds later you find out why. And I'm of this theory, maybe this has ended us up in a good point, that eventually that's where the media will cover games, particularly at venues like Allen Fieldhouse. Eventually someone will do the cost analysis of what those seats up in that corner cost KU Athletics, and we'll all just end up in the media room watching it, and then they'll bring in the players and coaches. I think that's where it's going to end up. I really do. Unless attendance gets so bad they need us in the stands, which maybe is where we're going to end up with that. But you think of the Super Bowl. You think of the value of those tickets and the suites. I can see them eventually moving the media to off-site viewing.
What? Hold on.
I can see it.
It's what they do with the Heisman. They don't let you actually go to the thing.
Yep.
You have to watch on TV and then interview them after.
I can see the media being moved to a separate area
for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, especially something like the Super Bowl. You know how many people try to get passes to the Super Bowl?
Well, but I mean,
I was just talking
to
someone that said one of the Kansas City stations is requesting 20 passes. Good luck with that.
But I'm just saying, but like they at least you're just saying what they would say is just take out the press box and turn those into regular seats. Because I mean, at least most stadiums they purpose-built press boxes.
Well, you would still need a press box for
the TV
and stats and those type of things. But
how far in the future are you predicting this is going to happen?
During your career, my friend. During your career, maybe not during mine.
I don't know. I don't think you'd ever.
I think that's doomsday, but
it's going to happen. Although the thing working in our advantage is that attendance is dropping. So the seats aren't as valuable as they used to be. But the seats that do have value are, ironically, the most expensive that people can brag that they bought.
I think they'll just continually keep moving us to worse and worse seats. I don't think it'll ever come to the point where absolutely no media is allowed anywhere.
Well, K-State talked about moving us to the top, up kind of by the elevator. And I said, that's not possible to have all of our stuff that we need to do their job down underneath the Coliseum and one elevator that moves at a snail's pace. You can't. That just doesn't work. You can't then hold press conferences and everything down underneath. If they held everything up above, I could see that. If the media workroom was there, but
all right, don't waste any more time on that.
I don't know.
Don't fry up your brain cells on that.
I'm worried about these things.
I'll just say that
we're people too.
Can I go to left field right quick?
Go.
Before you take another hit of 5-hour energy. I'm thrilled for K-State baseball and
oh my goodness,
the upgraded facility. I can't wait to see it in person.
It looks great.
I was blown away. I had no idea it was going to be that nice.
Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. Kudos to the respective companies that are everybody involved that's getting that thing put together. It's going to be big time.
The donors, athletic department, are raising money,
doing it right,
and whoever envisioned that.
We got a video board now. It's going to be the reason I bring that up is just a little reflection when I saw Mike Clark over the weekend, thinking what it was like when I first started calling baseball games at Kansas State to what it is now. And you can say that about the entire Big 12, and even for that matter, the teams that have left the conference. But, man, can't wait. Fans are really going to enjoy what they see, not just aesthetically and the seats and the environment, but K-State's going to have a much better baseball team this year.
They got the right guy as head coach. That's for sure.
Guys.
Well, I'll say this, too. I think you could really draw a lot of parallels between baseball and the football programs in terms of, it's not like Hughes last year. Pete Hughes brought in a lot of new guys. I mean, he did bring in some JUCO guys, but I'm saying it wasn't like – I mean, he still was working with a lot of the same kids who were on the last year of the Brad Hill, tenure, and – I mean, man, it was night and day in terms of how competitive they were.
They could only do so much recruiting-wise.
That's what I'm saying.
Now they're up and running on the recruiting trail.
Boy, that locker room. If you haven't seen it, I would go to K-State Baseball's Twitter and check it out. It's really impressive. It's thematically, it looks just like the football locker room or the basketball. It's got the Powercat up in the ceiling, I think.
They did it right. And that's why, you think about the upcoming projects, whatever it is in the next 5-6 years, it's going to be some pretty neat things on campus up there at the complex.
Has anyone let Eric Kennard know that indoor track is moving? That's why I
sat by him at the Texas Tech game last week.
Interesting.
He was here. I'm sure he's probably gone now. He was going back to Atlanta to start training once again. That was fun to sit by him. Every time I've seen Eric Kennard from day one, I immediately think Kobe Bryant.
Oh, no.
It's just like him.
It's unbelievable. I wonder how many times he gets confused for him in airports and stuff, because even the size. And I mean,
remember when they took the photo together at the Olympics? It's pretty classic.
Kansas State at Kansas, Tuesday night, Allen Fieldhouse, 6 p.m. Boy, it's going to be tough on those Johnson County people to get out of work and get over there. Worried about that.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say before I do, did you say literally in left field? Because it kind of was. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. I want to make sure you said literally because it was. Mm-hmm. Baseball. Is that talking all this stuff about, because of the stuff people really want to know about the media arrangements and accommodations.
Yeah, I'm sure they're intrigued.
Well, it's just that I think I've told you guys before, it was shocking to me when I came here and started covering K-State actually being on the floor, because most SEC arenas you're already up somewhere where you're not even on the floor. So, when I got K-State, I was like, whoa, hey, this. And then a lot of the Big 12 schools you actually are very close. So excuse me, I will say it's more common to be where the Texas seats are. That's a lot more common in the SEC to be, up maybe behind the first row or up over the tunnel where the teams run in or out up to the floor. So, I hope it doesn't go away, but I know you're right. These athletics departments look at the money, and hey, the more courtside seats they can sell, who cares about the media?
When they asked me about that, and this has been a number of years ago, I said, you do realize that these end zone whatever seats that the media's in, they're really not good seats. Yeah, they're close to the floor, but you've got obstructions, and you're not. Most of the time, there's open courtside seats anyhow. Why do you need worse ones underneath the basket? Particularly the ones like we're in that you're obstructed by the Classy Cats constantly. The other end, you're obstructed by the basketball managers that have to sit there and get up. They're just not good seats. They kind of stink, but it works. It works, and I think eventually they will move us. I won't be surprised if that's part of the redesign when they gut the west side of Bramlage Coliseum and have mid-level entrances, which they should have always had, and those type of things. I wouldn't be surprised if we're part of that. We'll see. Not that anyone out there cares. I just wanted to bring it up. We probably should touch on the Kansas City Chiefs, even though this is a K-State broadcast. When Patrick Mahomes was at Texas Tech, I knew he was special. And, in fact, I remember tweeting that I wanted him to be the Chiefs quarterback draft. I had no idea. No idea. There was nothing at college that told me he had this kind of football IQ, because it was such a system at Tech. It's funny. That system is designed to make average quarterbacks look good, and it made a great quarterback look really good. Not great, but because he didn't have to think. He didn't have to do things. He just didn't even have to huddle. Just throw the ball here. But, boy, with him, he's a difference maker. It was really impressive. And one of us is wearing a Chiefs jersey.
I remember, sadly, being on the fence about Patrick Mahomes when the Chiefs drafted him, because no Texas Tech quarterback had ever gone on to do much of anything in the NFL. And I thought, he's got the talent, but I don't know. I guess the one thing that showed us is that just because a quarterback doesn't win big in college, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad player. If his defense is giving up 70 a game, what are you supposed to do about that? Now he's got a defense, and that's why I think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. So they got a defense that can do something now.
Yeah.
His run late in the second yesterday was
unbelievable,
of legend.
When he cut it back in, that was the most shocking. He got the corner turned. I thought he was going to go out of bounds. Got the corner turned, and then it opened up, and there was defenders. I thought, okay, he's just going to step out, take it easy. That's what he's got, this nuance to his game where he knows we need this right now. He's beginning to figure out, okay, throw it away, check down, run out of bounds, and that was the opposite. Now, we need this play right now. Let's go for it. And he did fumble.
Yeah,
they stripped it.
It slipped a little bit out of his hand.
And he caught it as before it hit the ground. So, what an incredible playmaker, and the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
How about this little factor that just popped into my mind? The Super Bowl will be a replay of the time Texas Tech came here with Patrick Mahomes, and he had to go play against DJ Reed. DJ Reed actually had a pick six against him.
Does DJ play much?
He plays it every game, but he's like a back.
Not enough to get a pick six in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Special teams, but not as much in the secondary.
And Elijah Lee's for the Niners, too.
Yep.
And Pringle for the Chiefs. It's just
phenomenal offense and a really, really good defense.
And another factoid, all three guys in the last couple of years who left school early. Pringle, Lee, and Reed. Some people were like, what are they doing? They have no chance in the NFL. Now they're all in the Super Bowl. So, suck on that, haters.
I'll just say,
yeah, Alex Barnes.
I mean, like the biggest difference between this Chiefs team and some of the previous ones, especially last year, is their defense is so much better. But I will say this: I don't think they can dig themselves a hole against this 49ers defense like they did the last two games, because this 49ers defense is special.
They'll get after
it's the best defense I think that's been in the playoffs since that since the Broncos defense that just swallowed Cam Newton whole during his MVP season.
That seems dangerous.
Yeah.
Interesting stat from the radio broadcast. I was heading over to my show last night. I was listening on Sirius XM. The 49ers now lead the league after last night in third down sacks. Chiefs are second. Thought, well, that's a pretty telling stat about getting a team off the field when you need to make a play. And Bosa and company really get after the quarterback.
I didn't think about this at the beginning of the NFL playoffs, but it was said a couple of times yesterday. This is really the best Super Bowl matchup you could ask for. Better than New England being in there, better than anybody else on the NFC side being in there. This is the best matchup you could ask for.
Well, there's a sense of change, a sense of young quarterbacks taking the league in a new direction.
Well, why is it the best matchup? I'm just curious.
Because the offense and the defense that you referenced.
Yeah.
And it's not like San Fran's offense is wretched. You know, the Chiefs have a better defense. San Francisco, I mean, what Mostert did yesterday, ripping off 220 and 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's a heck of a matchup.
Well, I just didn't know if you'd say, the Packers, Chiefs would at least be a rematch of the first Super Bowl.
That's what I wanted to see, but this is a better matchup in my opinion.
I agree.
You know, it'd be funny is if somebody went back and interviewed every single quarterback who went from the Niners to the Chiefs back in the day. Steve Bono, Elvis Grbac, Joe Montana.
That is interesting.
Yeah, Smith. Yeah, he did that same thing,
too.
That's
fascinating.
I don't know, have them compare the teams somehow. Maybe I'll suggest that to my bosses.
How many stories are going to be written about D Ford going into the Super Bowl?
Ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, oh, yeah, you almost, you cost the Chiefs a chance to do this last year. What does it mean now to be on the 49ers and be there?
I hope they interview Frank Clark for that story, because I just want to hear Frank Clark interviewed every day of my life.
He's a piece of work.
I've never seen him interviewed until yesterday.
Oh, my goodness.
Holy crap. Someone hit him in the head as a child.
Or he had 3 5-hour energies. And
yeah.
I think the coaching matchup in this is fascinating, too, because you've got maybe the best coach to never win a Super Bowl. Yeah. At least he's in the argument. And then, obviously, Kyle Shanahan maybe joining his dad as a Super Bowl winner. That'd be either way. It's pretty fascinating.
Remember, these two teams played in 2018, and that's the game Garoppolo blew his ACL.
Oh, that's right.
And Kansas City hammered him in that game.
They've added a few pieces. Both teams have. Very interesting.
And you may need a couple of bucks if you want a Super Bowl ticket. They're a little stiff.
Yeah, I saw that right now on the secondary sites, the lowest prices for a pair of tickets is around $11,000.
Yeah. Saw an upper deck seat for $5,700 last night.
That's crazy.
Wow. The $300 tickets to go to the AFC Championship game were too rich for me, so I'll probably stay home. Actually, I'm flying to Ryan. I'm flying to West Virginia right before the Super Bowl again, so I pray my flight is on time this time.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to be watching the Chiefs 49ers at the Chili's Chicago airport again.
That's not good.
This happened to me a few years ago. We were coming back from West Virginia. Our flights got delayed. We had to watch Super Bowl at the
Chili's in O'Hare?
Yeah, the Eagles Patriots Super Bowl that the Eagles won. Can you buy me some of that popcorn there at the airport?
Garrett popcorn?
Garrett's?
Yeah, sure.
Getting work done here. Getting work done on this podcast. Well, real quick, though, before we call it quits on this week's edition of the Insiders Podcast, K-State at Alabama on Saturday. I'm not a fan of the SEC Challenge, but in a weird way, I feel like the SEC has always gained more from this series than the Big 12. I think they've upped their status, so to speak, a little bit. That their mid-level teams are better than people expect. I feel like the Big 12's got a lot to earn this year. They really have some opportunities here. K-State could win at Alabama. That would say a lot. Kentucky goes into Texas Tech. That's kind of the marquee game. I just think there's some intriguing matchups that could make statements for this conference.
Who's Baylor got? I don't remember.
I don't remember Baylor. I don't.
They got Florida.
That might be right. Missouri goes to West Virginia. Kellis is getting on the Google machine.
Give me a sec.
I don't like this matchup, this series at all. The fact they get to lop off 4 bad teams and everyone in the Big 12 has to match up. It's just not fair.
It's helped. I think you're right. It's made the SEC look a little bit better. The Big 12's down this year compared to years past. Go Kellis.
All right, you want to hear all the matchups?
Let's do it.
We got LSU at Texas, Tennessee at Kansas, Kansas State at Alabama, Missouri at West Virginia. Hey, Missouri's back in it. Iowa State at Auburn, Mississippi State at OU, TCU at Arkansas, Oklahoma State at A&M, Kentucky at Tech, and Baylor at Florida.
To me, that's the marquee matchup.
Could be interesting.
Baylor, Florida.
Yeah, Baylor, Florida.
Tennessee is going to get rocked.
Yeah.
They are a shell of last year's team.
Kind of surprised game day's going to Kansas instead of Tech.
It has to do with, the 300th edition of Game Day. I think that's why, if I saw that right over the weekend.
Okay.
Well, okay. The game day that nobody really talks about.
Speaking of Tech, with them winning the other day, it's like they avoided losing back-to-back home games for the first time since Beard's been there. Very impressive.
I like Tech. I think they're good.
Yeah.
I think they've got some nice pieces. TCU's finally getting exposed. I bet you K-State wants that game back.
Yeah, for sure.
To me, it's still Baylor and KU are the best. Tech's 3-hole, 4-hole.
West Virginia's the other 3-hole, 4-hole.
And there's a whole lot of mediocre.
There is. That's what's different about this year. There's a whole lot of mediocre in this conference, and fortunately, including Kansas State. But they've got their first conference win, and they have opportunities down the road. Two games still await with Oklahoma State and Iowa State. They still get Texas coming in. They get to go to TCU. There are opportunities to win games, and credit to the Wildcats. They won one that nobody expected them to win, and they did it emphatically.
How good of a coaching job? I know people are going to say this is a stupid thing you're bringing up, Ron. I think Bruce has done a great job this year. I feel like he's tried a lot of stuff. It's just it hadn't shown in the actual wins and losses.
People are noticing that he's not making as many excuses.
He's stubborn to a fault on some things, Kellis. He at least is trying to switch things up.
Well, he tried against West Virginia. I'll give him that.
Well, I thought when he said that he called David Sloan during the days leading up to the game and said, I don't know if you don't like me or whatever, but we got to figure this out. I need you to play defense. I thought that was – I like it when he's open like that. Kind of gives the inner workings of how he's working with his team, because sometimes you get the impression that they kind of just, the big three didn't, the past few years, but other guys just kind of ignore him and go about their business.
Yeah, but every coach is different about getting what they need and want from their players.
Right.
If Bruce is, Bill Self is, Calipari is, Izzo is, Beeline is, Scott Drew is. But, I think the fact that he played Sloan 35 minutes on Saturday, I think there's becoming a little more focus as to what needs to happen with this basketball team.
Well, I'm hoping now that he will start doing a good coaching job. It's just kind of funny that he's just now stumbling upon all these things that we've been talking about, like Matt said, for 6 weeks. It seems like everybody outside the coaching office noticed that David Sloan might bring something to the team playing more at point guard, and they
coaches are stubborn.
In game 17 or whatever it was, decided, you know what, let's put our
and Kellis, too, though, it's easy for us to sit around and do this, but when we're not in the locker room, we're not around the dynamic of the team. That's a totally different thing.
And those that they are coaching in this day and age are just a wee bit more fragile than they used to be.
Yeah.
Me too. That's it for the Insiders Podcast for this week. K-State at KU on Tuesday. Buckle in. It always gets a little bit interesting.
You've been listening to the Powercat Insiders Podcast, presented by Commerce Bank. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.